I would like to, though he needs no introduction to most of you, I'm happy to be able to introduce, and not for the last time, Bob Hill.
Well, as Steve just said, a month ago, I thought my wife was moving me to the coast. And so I was working on what I would like to say on my last talk. And so I wanted to kind of review my belief, my philosophy. And then I found out I wasn't moving, so I started working on another talk. And the last time I talked, my talk title was Bad History. And I talked about being hopeful for our country, for the country of Mexico. And someone came up to me after the talk and said, "How can you be hopeful? I am losing hope." So I thought about that, and it kind of rolled around in my head, and I thought, I'm going to go back to my original talk. With all of the death and destruction in this world, how can the human spirit survive? How can the human spirit survive our meanest human behavior? And then it was if some deep voice, some muse within my mind whispered to me softly, "I am the human spirit. I have been alive forever. I brought forth the very first human emotions. Great minds have argued through the ages how I came to be. Some tell of how I crawled out of the primordial slime when the first human being stood erect. Maybe that's when I woke up. I think that is when I moved from the unconscious to the conscious. It seems so far away and so long ago now. Did I crawl out of the slime in several places on the globe, or was it just in one place? I don't remember. Were there several forms of human type and only one form survived? Or was there just one single strand? I'm not sure now. I do remember that we were scattered about in the early times, tiny tribes and small bands, struggling to survive. Every single minute was devoted to work, gathering food, and seeking shelter. We clung to each other for warmth, safety, and security. We were like sailors adrift in a cosmic sea. Some of our members died off, like roses planted in sand. Others flourished. Our numbers grew. Our collective wisdom expanded. We found ways to do things collectively that we could never have accomplished alone. We found new ways to hunt, to fish, to gather, to build. And then fire. Like a lightning bolt, we were changed. It propelled us light years ahead of all of the other animals. But it was that frosty day when one of us killed a beast with a bone. We were changed forever. For the first time, we had weapons, tools. We were really different now from all around us. We took a different path, one giant leap after another. Fire, weapons, tools, symbols, alphabets, languages, writing, art, and a million other inventions. Perhaps that was the first time that we ever really laughed. We feared, we cried, we loved, we reasoned, we questioned. Other minds say it isn't so. That's not how it happened at all. They preach that we arrived by His divine plan. He put us in His garden. But we made the error of questioning. Got ourselves thrown out. We did. We had to fend for ourselves. They say these two begat more. Who begat more? Who begat more? More, more. All in His name. It's been so long ago, I hardly think it makes any difference how we came to be. But just know that I am the human spirit and I reside in every living human being. In some people, I am not seen until disaster awakens me in them. In some, I am self-evident, shining through the sparkle in their eyes. For most, however, I can be seen in the great holidays of the winter solstice and the spring equinox. But even when I cannot be seen, trust that I am there, even behind the most tired and lifeless eyes. You can always tell that I am with you at the birth of a child, when your eyes well with water and your heart bursts with joy. Or when you feel yourself choking up as bodies are carried from exploding buildings. In the pain you feel as you see the homeless walk the streets hungry, you will know that I am there. I am always under threat when the warmongers beat their chest and little men puff up, espousing the glory of war. I am frustrated when the timid give in to resignation. Never fear, however. I am the Spirit and I am always there. I am alive and courageous in every heartbeat as we traverse the seasons of the winter solstice, when the sun begins its journey back to warm our days. I may be bruised about by the senseless death caused by maniacs, but I just become more determined by their unholy behaviors. Our struggle to get this far has not been easy. The joy was boundless when we harvested our first crops. Our pain was vicious when the storms and floods and blizzards came and wiped out all of our gains. To cope, we invented wonderful celebrations and rejoiced in our hope. We invented many rituals to deal with our pain and our losses. when the Mongol hordes bit and spat and cursed at each other, and then united and plunged into China and swept across Central Asia, I shivered. My blood turned cold at the sound of their war cries. I feared for all of our children as their bodies lay dying at their bloody hands. Our women were stolen and used like livestock. Our young men left bleeding their life's fluid into the earth. They say, from ashes to ashes. But that made me feel no relief. We always awoke the next morning. We cleaned up the jumble. We cooked for each other. We comforted one another. We rebuilt, and we started planning for tomorrow. We have always felt that there was something bigger than we are. We looked to the stars for guidance. We prayed to the rivers. We prayed to the mountains and the winds and the trees. Our craftsmen built statues and idols. We erected churches and mosques and temples. At some point on our path, we must have decided that some of us were better than others of us. So we anointed them. We anointed them priests and seers, kings and rulers, lords and shoguns, generals and presidents. Religions of all kinds sprang up through our ranks. Some people worshipped one God, while others worshipped another God. We have bowed down to thousands of gods in our brief cosmic history. One of our greatest failings, however, is that there have been times we felt it was only right that some of us could kill others of us because they had the wrong religion, or because they believed in the wrong God. How odd it is that some people thought they owned the truth. Yet even though we believed differently, there were moments of peace and tranquility. And in those moments, the Spirit soared. Maybe some of us could see more than others. Maybe some had vision that the rest of us could only imagine. 2,500 years ago, the Buddha left his palace, giving up all of his worldly possessions. He left his wife and newborn son to search for truth. He grappled with the question of human existence. He sought answers to the questions of poverty and suffering and disease. He gave us the Four Noble Truths. He inspired us to have the right view, the right thoughts, the right speech, the right action, the right livelihood, the right effort, the right mindfulness, and the right meditation. Confucius synthesized the belief that our personal morality should permeate our personal, social, and governmental life. Moses, the Hebrew prophet, gave us the 10 Commandments, and he taught us about monotheism, the one God. For millennia, there have been Christ figures, dozens of Christ figures. They taught us the basic ethics for living. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. St. Paul encapsulated the religion of Christianity. 1400 years ago, Muhammad gave us another of the world's great religions. The Spirit surely felt the need for religion. They sprang up all over the globe. We embraced them all. They grew, and sometimes hope flourished because of them. Sometimes they enslaved us. Since those early beginnings, religions have multiplied, divided, subtracted, changed. Some sprung up while others died off. They have been proselytized and bastardized, but the Spirit has never left us alone. Hope has always been the cornerstone of humanity. Religious leaders have added to and subtracted from our growth. Their numbers have been legions. The good ones kept the Spirit alive. The bad ones punished it. There were other leaders. Locke, Jefferson, Adams, John and Abigail, Madison, and others whose temple was democracy and whose creed was freedom. There have been thousands of wonderful men, wonderful women, father figures, mother figures. They have given to and nurtured the Spirit. Some have taught us to overcome poverty and hunger, disease and disaster. And even when there were no great leaders to follow, the Spirit would not let us quit. We could always hear that wonderful inner voice that told us, hold on. Even when there was nothing left but the will that says, hold on. With all the goodness and kindness available, sometimes things went wrong. Out of our midst came human forms without human spirit. Evil ones stood up who were sick. The soulless ones tried to kill the Spirit. The English, the French, the Russians, the Americans ignored the racist rantings of the German Chancellor. We played along with him to keep him off our backs. The nasty word, if I recall correctly, was appeasement. We all made treaties with him. We helped him train his army and his air force. When he marched into the Rhineland in 1936, we looked the other way. He played us, one against the other, while he took over Czechoslovakia. By the time this was all over, there was nothing left but the shooting. Did I say shooting? If it had just been shooting, we might have all chalked it up to just another civilized war. However, Hitler and his bloody lieutenants had no intention of stopping at shooting. They gassed, they burned, they tortured, they hanged, they raped, they starved, they experimented, and they butchered until literally we could not count the dead. This, of course, was done so that the Aryan race could rule supreme. All of this, of course, was justified. It is okay to eliminate the under people. Therefore, the Jews, the blacks, some Christians, Muslims, Poles, Russians, Czechs could be wiped off the face of the earth. But the human spirit never faltered. Even in the death camps of Auschwitz, Dachau, Belsen, and Treblinka, the human spirit lifted us up. With death waiting for each of us at every single sunrise, the human spirit had us play. We celebrated birthdays. We felt the spirit of Hanukkah. We exchanged gifts. We never lost hope. We laughed. We fell in love. We remembered lost loved ones. And we comforted each other. Hitler went the way of so many other tyrants. Death. He committed suicide. The Third Reich fell. The human spirit picked up the pieces. We dusted off our dirty and blood-stained clothes. And we planned for tomorrow. Joseph Stalin gathered his wounded people and offered them hope. Then he purged them. He purged them time and again out of a paranoid fear until as many as 20 million people died at the hands of this murderous tyrant. The human spirit never stops lifting us up. We hope, we love, we comfort, and we plan for tomorrow. There has probably never been a perfect time in history to marry and have children. It seems that we are always confronted with economic hard times, war, storms, disease, famine, pestilence, and other disasters. Legend tells us that 2,000 years ago in Bethlehem, where the Hebrews were hated by the Romans, where citizens and Confederates were treated miserably, a child was born. As in so many other times, there was never any room in the inn for anyone. This child was born into poverty. This legend has fed a lot of spirits. We were taught to care for each other, to turn the other cheek, and to love our enemy. Herod committed suicide. The spirit lived on. Muhammad taught us. All of the Christ figures taught us. Gandhi taught us. The Buddha taught us. Jefferson, Schweitzer, Mother Teresa, and 1,000 others have taught us. Our elders have taught us. They all taught us and reminded us to be living examples of courage and devotion to life. So, come tyrants, come murderers, come terrorists and liars and thieves, come self-aggrandizing, sociopathic, criminal presidents. Come, the human spirit will survive. We will survive all of our erratic, crazy, dangerous, behaving leaders. The human spirit of hope is stronger than any other single force. It binds us in oneness and goodness. It will drive us to fall in love, to grieve, to share, to seek, to question, and to refuse to quit. Tiananmen Square, the Twin Towers, the Al-Qaeda and ISIS path to glory are all symbols of the human spirit pushing against the soulless ones. The people who want to live to be free. Out of the ashes of the Oklahoma bombing, U.S. embassies, the World Trade Center, and suicide bombers everywhere, we will stand as reminders that the human spirit will not be defeated by hatred, bigotry, sexism, racism. The Berlin Wall crumbled as a promise that Attila the Hun, Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, Mussolini, Osama bin Laden will die, but the human spirit will live on. Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, China, North Korea, and all of the rest of the oppressors will continue to harbor the tug of war between right and wrong. Despots, tyrants, sociopaths will come to power, but they will eventually go, and the Spirit will prevail. We must be ever mindful that all seasons, all holidays, all celebrations belong to all of us. We are from all times. We are all the Christian, the Jew, the Hindu, the Muslim. We are all black, brown, red, yellow, and white. We are all one tribe. We are still living the spirit of humanity. So when great buildings and towers fall under the weight of too much hatred, we will go on. We will live in hope, not only for ourselves, but for all of those yet to be. We will stand together in defiance of all that is wrong. So, dare to dream your deepest dreams. Move past your disappointments and your tragedies. Live your life so that the winds whisper your words and your deeds through 1,000 years. You are the vessel in which the human spirit resides. Pass it on in better shape than when you received it. You are the human spirit. You have been alive forever. Thank you.